Hi, I'm Tony Bowen, and welcome to my Corn Country Rails N-Scale Enthusiast Convention Review. This is part two of my five-part series of this past year's N-Scale Convention in Kansas City. Thursday morning, we met at the hotel lobby, boarded the bus, and we were all headed to Kansas City's Union Station. Now, I had been to Kansas City's Union Station many, many years ago, and at that time, many of the exhibits for the model railroading displays were downstairs in the basement. Since then, they have moved them upstairs in an area that's a little bit bigger, doesn't look quite as gloomy, and so we basically had time to explore wherever we went to go at Union Station that morning. They had their workroom open, and curiosity got me that I wanted to just peek in and see the inner workings and room they have for keeping the layouts running. And like many displays like this, it's all done by volunteer help and model railroaders in the area, keeping things going, running smoothly. Even that day we were there, there were several guys working on some G-scale track and getting locomotives running for some track they had to relay. So it was great to visit with them. And they had some really good examples of all the various scales, which obviously appeals to a wide range of model railroaders because you had everything from N scale, HO, O, Lionel, G scale present there, and even some Lego trains. And you also get to see that they have wiring issues too, like these two locomotives that were ready to leave at the same time. And we can't forget about Z scale. They even had a small Z scale display as well. As you exit the model railroad display, there are signs that are pointed to the pedestrian bridge that goes over the tracks that still serve Union Station. This is a great place where you can rail fan from a safe distance, although sometimes getting pictures a little hard because of the slats that they have in the bridge. But still, a neat place. A lot of us were out there that day, even though it was warm, to watch the trains go by. Once the train went by, we came back inside Union Station, one, just to get cooled off because it was a little warm out there, and made our way to the second and third level of the station. There they house a lot of the historic artifacts of Union Station and just a really neat history of both Union Station itself, but also the restoration of bringing Union Station back to its current state. After we had read about some of the history of the station, there's also a small art gallery exhibit. So in there were several paintings of some of the major railroads that came into the Kansas City area. So it was really neat to see those as well. So we were seeing people kind of congregating and knew we had to make our way back to the bus to get ready to go to Jack Stack's for lunch. And as soon as we stepped off the bus, we could smell Jack Stack's in the air. And I don't know about anybody else, but myself, I was hungry. So I was going to be ready to eat. They basically had 2 party rooms set up for us, and well, it didn't take us long as to which party room we wanted to be in. The one that faced the tracks, of course. Some special N-scale cars were made up for our lunch as well that you could buy. There were about 20 of them available. I didn't buy one, but I took a picture of one. The meal this day for lunch was outstanding. They basically set it up buffet style. So after our bellies were all full from lunch, our afternoon tour was at the BNSF Logistics Park Intermodal Yard. The afternoon tour was excellent. We had a BNSF employee who used to work this yard hop on the bus, and basically we drove through the yard as he explained everything. The only downside of this was the bus's AC kept kicking on, and so as he was talking to us through the microphone, we were only getting bits and pieces of some of the information, so a lot of times he was repeating stuff back to us. So this logistics park yard is continuing to keep growing, and they have room for expansion. They have 5 of these cranes currently there. They're hoping to get 8 of them, if not 10 in the future. A crew person has to walk up there every day. There are 8 stories. They do them in shifts. Once they walk the 8 stories up there into that area, they are basically there for the whole time of their shift. So they take their lunch, the restrooms, everything they need is up there. Somebody on our bus tour had asked about what kind of qualifications you need as far as, an employee. And they said, well, it may sound funny, but we're looking for people who are gamers, who have literally sat in front of screens and manipulating things, because they said that's essentially all you're doing all day is taking those cars off double stack cars and putting them on trailers or vice versa. And they said, you have somebody who's really good at this, they can lift one of those containers off and get it onto a trailer, sometimes within 1.5 to 2 minutes. And they said, that's what we want. They want the speed, they want the efficiency. And so it was very interesting to hear the gentleman speak about this. The thing I thought was interesting is 2 of these cranes were done totally by remote. Somebody who was sitting across the yard office who's doing them. And I was like, wow, somebody who's right above them, who could see it, hands-on and that seems great. But somebody who is totally not even there, but is, in a building on the facility grounds, that takes some real talent.
How long were they on the glass operator before they get lunch?
Also hearing about how the waybills are generated for this. From the time the semi pulls in with a container and goes through kind of the security, the waybill process starts right there. So by the time that the driver gets to the next hut where they have to check in, the railroad has already figured out where that container or trailer needs to be parked so that it can be loaded onto a double stack train, or vice versa if it's an unloading process. So very cool on how the truck driver basically handles and picks up the trailer with very little interaction from the railroad itself. They just generate the paperwork and run the facility. So we got back to the hotel just around 4 o'clock. We were going to get ready to do another room sale that night. However, we also wanted to get our judging in for the model contest to get our raffle tickets and also view the stuff for the live auction. As always, there were a lot of neat dioramas and models this year at the model contest, and so we were able to get our voting in and then get our free raffle tickets if you were one of the first 100 to vote in the modeling contest. There were a lot of neat things in the live auction that you could look at, but there wasn't anything that piqued a lot of our interest of things that we absolutely wanted or needed to make bids on. And so we kind of just watched a little bit of it just to see how it, kind of started, and then went back to our room to get ready for our room sales. For our first time hosting a room sales, we did fairly well. We enjoyed it. And even if we didn't sell much, sometimes just visiting with other modelers in the evenings, it was a great sense of camaraderie there that we really enjoyed. Well, I hope you've enjoyed part 2 of my recap of the N-Scale convention. As always, thank you for watching and happy railroading to you.